Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building. You're here for the SPS Edge Podcast with a great group of people, starting with Terry McCord Jr., young Jedi out here holding it down, doing well. We have John and Patrick Rutherford. Don't know what the show will be without these two gentlemen. And on the wheels of steels in the backdrop, always around supporting us is Coach Orlando Watkins. Coach, we appreciate you. We don't know where you are right now. We don't know if you're in Vegas, Maui, Eugene, no telling where you are, but we appreciate you always being around to support us. So with that, we got a great show. Got to sneeze. Ooh, trying to work his way in there. Sneeze want to get some props. And before I go, I also want to shout out to Aaron Mays. We got one follower along with the McCord family has been supporting our show consistently, watching every show, checking us out, and we appreciate that support. And that time when we get up on the stage, guys, and we get our awards, we're going to say, remember back when? Those people who supporting our shows, and we'll shout them out again. But let's talk about basketball right now. The NBA playoffs are going on, and I don't know, man, is it a different playoff, with my Lakers being out? I shouldn't say my Lakers. I should say LeBron James being out because I'm a fan. I guess he's going to get ready for Space Jam. But already you're seeing these NBA jobs come up. You see a team that, made it into the play-in game with the Indiana Pacers, early part of the playoffs, but get sent home, and now their coach is out, and they're looking for a replacement. So you wonder who that's going to be. You also look at the Trailblazers, the Portland Trailblazers. I just love it how coaches like Terry Stotts get to mutually part ways. You know what I'm saying? They get to, say, hey, they don't get fired, but other coaches get fired. You follow what I'm saying? So, Terry, I'll start with you, then I go to our guys as well. What's your thought on the Pacer job opening? Who do you think may be some prospects for that? And then also even with Portland, how that may look with Jason Kidd taking his name out of the –
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a political move or if he just wants to stay at home with the possibility of getting that Laker job. But what's your thought on what's going on with the NBA coaching carousel?
Well, I mean, it's expected because during the year, I mean, they talked about Coach Nate losing the Pacers during the year. I mean, not really winning the locker room. Everybody knows how that's important, when you're trying to, first you're a new coach, so you have to earn the respect of the guys. I mean, it doesn't matter where you come from. You have to coach that team. They have to earn you have to earn their respect. So, I mean, Nate McMillan's proven why he should still have that job. I mean, he's having the Hawks play at a very high level, playing with a really good 76ers team. That series is tied right now. So I guess Indiana's looking for a coach, who's a veteran, who's been in the game for a while. Stotts, I mean, I don't like his defense philosophy. I mean, they got guys who can play defense this past offseason in Portland, and you still didn't see it. I mean, they were like bottom tier defensively in the NBA. So I think that they're kind of looking for someone that kind of know what they're doing, who's been around, who knows how to play with these stars. Someone that kind of generates some offense, maybe, someone who's a familiar face in the NBA world, I would say. And so I think it's something that people are gonna, eye Jason Kidd, Chauncey Billups, with the Celtics and all that. They're looking for a big name because as a fan base as big as the Celtics, they gotta sell tickets. They want a guy who they know. Okay, Billups. Okay, or I mean, they may not. I don't know, but like a name where they can be like, okay, we feel comfortable. They're doing the right thing, and that's definitely a fan base that they want to feel like their team is going the right direction. So they always want their fans behind them. And so their coaching hire, I think, is probably one of the biggest around.
Yeah, you made some excellent points. I think with Indiana, as I go to you, Patrick, I don't know if that's a destination for a lot of people. Is it like someone say, I got an opportunity, coach, I'm going to Indiana, I'm going to take it? Or does somebody be like, nah, I'm not from Indiana if Indianapolis is the only happening spot when it's done? So, Patrick, what do you think about this Indiana job being up and who you think may be a candidate for it? Or do we even see a Terry Stotts make a overnight transition, or will we not hear that name for a while?
Oh, no, I think it's definitely a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. There's only 30 some of those jobs in the entire world. So those guys, they usually go for experience, and he had a good run in Portland. And, it's always tough, and we always talk about, these teams so critically, but it really, sometimes it's really very simple. Dame Lillard is the only star on the team. So you name me a team in the last 10 years, all the champions that have won, they've had what we call big threes or better. So, like, I don't even understand how you could even expect them to be successful when it's one guy, you know? And then, on the other hand, when they do have those big three, other players step up and play extraordinary. Like, look at Brooklyn right now. They got a two-headed monster right now. But you got Mike James and all these guys coming off the bench playing stellar, you know? So, I don't know. It's tough to criticize it, but I think he'll definitely get another job right away. Personally.
Yeah, it's something to think about. You're right. It is a small fraternity when you talk about these coaching jobs, and then you really wonder if teams are focused on making a splash compared to just getting someone who's the right fit. And Terry kind of alluded to this earlier, John, when he talked about so many of these coaches losing their locker rooms, and you wonder if it's just basically an age issue, where you have, older coaches kind of, well, maybe I'll say a culture issue because I look at Brad Stevens, who isn't necessarily older, but a cultural disconnect with this young generation of athletes coming in. John, before I go to you, I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Gilead Sciences. I also want to thank the Horatio Williams Foundation. Shout out to my guy H, who was just with him yesterday, as well as Dick's Sporting Goods. And after I get your comments, John, we're going to go to another one of our sponsors, Team Michigan, and talk about the basketball opportunity that's coming up that I look forward to being a part of. And hopefully get you guys up to Traverse City too. But with that, John, you see this coaching carousel that's getting ready to start. I mean, what would be your prediction for both, I guess, the Pacers job as well as the Portland Trailblazers job? And then, will there be any coaching changes at the end of this playoff?
Well, I mean, you're going to have, on both jobs, you're going to have guys lining up around the world. I mean, what could top coaching in the NBA? I mean, it's the best basketball players in the world. They pay good money, and everybody's chomping at the bit that's a basketball guy to get one of those jobs. So, they're both going to have a lot of choices, and they're going to go through the process, and they're going to, Lindsay, it's a players' league. It's been like this for a long, long, long time. And, coaches always tell one another, in the NBA, the players can keep your job or lose your job. So, hey, and then these owners, they always react to negative stuff in their fan base, whether it's the talk radio or the article written or the blog or the podcast or whatever. Now you got Mark Cuban is taking a different approach. They said, well, fire Rick Carlisle. He said, well, I'm not going to make a change just to make a change. So you have an owner there that can resist all the outside noise that comes in. So you're going to have guys. I'll tell you, man, there's hundreds of guys that are making phone calls to try to get an interview for both those jobs.
Now, with that same point, these guys are making phone calls, and I guess it's, based on the preference of each particular organization. Are these organizations making calls themselves, trying to get people on the phone?
Absolutely. Everybody, when you're in the top management of a basketball team in the NBA, you got a history. So they have certain friends of theirs and certain relationships with people. And of course, they're reaching out. They have an idea of what they like. And hey, in case of Portland, no coach is getting that job unless David Lillard says, all right, I'm in. He's gonna have as much to say as the president of basketball operations and the GM. And that's there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it is. And hey, they're all scrambling right now, those two franchises, to try to find the best fit. And it's all because people can't take criticism. They can't take the pressure from the outside world. And, you know, there's an old saying, hey, thanks for giving me this job. I know you're going to be the guy to fire me. You know, and there's another, you know, old saying that, you know, your time eventually runs out on you in the NBA if you're not winning it all. So, I mean, hey, it's business as usual. It's the NBA, baby.
Yeah, that's it. Well, with that, I want to shout out the Streets of Talking Podcast Network with my guy, Don Houston and Lance Babor. Then we want to take a break right now. We got Team Michigan's going to bring us some great opportunities that's happening with Blues. Team Michigan, take it away.
Breaking news, Team Michigan Basketball is presenting a series of basketball tournaments at Grand Traverse Resort and Spa. Get your teams registered today. The first tournament in this series is coming this Halloween weekend. Visit boosketball.com or teammichiganbasketball.com for more information.
That's right. Looking forward to supporting Boosketball and Team Michigan. So staying with that topic, that was really a great segue for us to all you guys, especially John, when you talk about what they're talking about with these NBA coaches, man, and what's going to happen. But let's just talk about the NBA playoffs overall. We got to look at the new MVP. The Joker's the MVP. Shout out to Jokic. That voting was kind of like, it was a done deal, man. The voting was like, what'd you say, Terry? It was like, I don't have the numbers, but pretty much, I think Chris Paul may have got 3 points or
landslide
votes. Yeah, it was like over the top. But you know,
1 out of 100 votes.
He got 1 out of 100 votes. And was that the fan vote?
91.
91 out of Jokic got 91 out of 100 votes.
Yes, sir.
Wow. So I mean, okay. Now I'll start with you with that, John, Patrick. Let's just stay right there with that. Okay. So, do you think that was valid? Or is there more to it? Was it a done deal? Can we say it was conspiracy to say this is the way we want to go? I mean, what would you say about the metrics behind that vote?
I think you could put in a little bit of all three, but he deserved it because he's a superstar. We can't deny that. He plays really big at big moments on big stages. You know, he shows up and he balls, and you have to give a guy credit for that. But I don't know if I would have gave him MVP, but he was the only superstar that actually was healthy all year. So, you know, you got to give him credit for that too. A lot of guys.
Who would your vote?
A lot of guys got hurt this year.
Who was your? They asked, are you serious about that right now? So, if you had a vote to give, who would you give it to?
Personally, would have gave it to like Steph.
Okay.
The second half of the season was ridiculous.
And he put his team into contention to make the playoffs. Put them all on his back.
Yeah, but you know, then you got to go with somebody with a better record. So you know, there's so many of those. That voting for the MVP in the NBA is weird.
Yeah, so many variables. I'll go to Terry before I come back to John on this. So Terry, when we talk about overall recap of the playoffs, and also just what's your take on MVP voting? And did they get it right with who got that MVP?
Well, the playoffs right now is kind of where I expected it in the second round. Not really the matchups that I wanted, I wanted kind of the Knicks to get in there. But I mean, Philly and Hawks, I knew that would be an interesting matchup. But Bucks and Nets was kind of what I expected. I thought the Bucks might have stole one, but I mean, Kyrie and Durant are just in a different mindset right now. They're locked in. They both are NBA champions. They have that DNA. You know, you really can't compete against when guys are locked in like that with that kind of star power. CP3 is showing why he deserves that extension that he's going to get in the offseason. I mean, clear leader, you know, MVP caliber player this year, man, just really balling. But as far as MVP voting, I would have probably given it to Joel Embiid. I mean, I feel like he's somebody who really, like, to get swept last year the way they did in the bubble was horrible. I mean, I thought it was all she wrote in Philly. I thought there were going to be some departures. I mean, Coach was gone, which is great because we see what they can do with with the sense of direction. I felt like Philly was always an interesting spot. I mean, a couple of years ago, they were in a spot where they were one shot away from possibly getting in the conference finals. The next year, they like kind of lose themselves. People get injured, and then they get in the bubble, and it just all falls apart. And we're like, where's that Philly team? That was competing to try and get into the conference finals. We're like, oh, they're one step away. And then now Joel Embiid is playing a lot more healthy. He's dominating. I mean, we've seen over the years where he's kind of fallen away with that jump shot and falling in love with it. He'll give it to you, but I like how he's just putting his head down and really just giving it to you, man. We're seeing him dominate now. Like that's the Joel Embiid that project that they drafted out of Kansas. We're seeing it come true. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like, it took Joel Embiid about 3 years to really kind of get something to give to the team. And I feel like his whole transformation, his body looks good. I mean, he's just really playing really well. And I feel like, to be the number 1 seed in the East this year, the East was tough. I mean, I still think the West is a little bit better, but I think the East is tough. I mean, Embiid, I say Philly just dominated all year. So I really feel like it should have been Joel Embiid.
Okay, I get it. Patrick, I'll come to you. I keep saying Patrick. John, I get you guys. I go back and forth with you guys. John, just your take on the MVP vote. We've had some, Patrick mentioned Steph. Terry mentioned Joel Embiid. Did they get it right with the Joker getting it? And then just give me your thoughts as we talk about the NBA playoffs and what's going on right now.
Well, you got to remember that they vote on regular season performance. That's it. It's got nothing to do with the playoffs or what you play like. It's a regular season. And, I guess you could make arguments for all 3 people that Patrick and Terry mentioned. And, but, I don't really have a problem with it. I don't get too worked up over MVPs and stuff like that. I really don't. And as far as the playoffs are concerned, I think there's 2 key things to look for from here on out. And that's injuries and officiating.
Oh.
Because it's funny, I'm a big Doc Rivers guy. I have a lot of respect for him. And he's one hell of a basketball man. And I like his social platform too, and he gave him the old Phil Jackson against the Pistons after the first game. Oh, is this how we're going to officiate the game? You can't get within 2 feet of Trae Young. This is what we're going to do. So he works the officials. Well, look at the difference between how they officiated the first game and the second game, and how they defended Trae Young, and what he wants to do is to be able to put, the big guy, the point guard on Trae Young at certain times during that game. And
Simmons.
And Simmons is going to put his hands on him when he doesn't have the ball. and keep your whistle in your pocket. So, I mean, that's an old trick. Going back to the 60s, the Lakers used to always complain about the Celtics. Phil Jackson complained and finally got his way and got them the referees against the Pistons. And, I mean, it's been that way for a long time. And Joel Embiid, he's got a torn meniscus. And, you got to keep the swelling out of that. You can perform with it, but you got to keep the swelling out of it. And for him to be effective. And, how's Chris Paul's shoulder? Is James Harden coming back? These guys, one thing about sports today, not just the NBA, I am shocked at the disabled list. These guys are getting hurt, and, I don't blame them. When you're hurt, I wouldn't go in and play. There's just too much money involved here, and I would try to do the best I can, but you have to protect the commodity you have, which is your body. And I got no problem. But injuries, I think we see it here. We see it in these games. And again, officiating lets you dictate what you can do and what you can't do. And I always look at that when I'm watching a game, especially in the playoffs. What turn is this officiating going to take?
Yeah. Now, no, when you said officiating, I wonder. You mentioned injuries in officiating. I wonder which role Vegas played in that. Now, when you said officiating, I wonder if Vegas plays a role in that officiating. And I'm kind of being a conspiracy theorist to a degree. Like, how much is Vegas watching the playoffs and what's going on? And then when you talk about officiating, how much does that play a role in it?
That's always been a question about NBA. Okay, it's always been there. Terry mentioned last week, and he was right on the money that the NBA thrives when the Knicks are good. When the Lakers are good, the big market teams. It's always been like that. And I mean, the first time the Pistons played the Lakers, I mean, the phantom foul on Bill Laimbeer
on Kareem
against Kareem was, it was just, we all sat there and watched and said, are you kidding me? Really? Seriously? But you've seen that throughout the history of the NBA. So, whether it's Las Vegas or, these owners in professional sports now, they got interest in DraftKings and all this other stuff. It's all, you have the owner of the Detroit Tigers and the Red Wings owns a casino in Detroit. So, it's okay for those guys to intertwine that business now. So there's always been a cloud over the NBA when it comes down to that. It won't stop. You got to watch game by game, the officiating changes.
It only takes one person to be a go-between between those entities to send a message and drop something off. But anyway, enough with the conspiracy theories. This has been a great discussion with the NBA playoff recap. I will go around and still ask, do you guys still see the Brooklyn Nets as the favorite to win the NBA championship? Terry, what do you think?
Right now, yeah, just because with Embiid and torn meniscus right now, Simmons really hasn't been as consistent as they would need for him to be if Embiid wasn't able to continue in the series or playoffs period. So I'm a little worried about that, but it's really looking like, because I think the Clippers are still going to beat the Jazz. We'll see tonight. I'm a little nervous about saying that on the air right now. The Clippers have shown that they, with the backs against the wall, they can produce a little bit, but they're a little iffy. But I think it's looking like Suns and Nets right now, and I think the Nets may get hardened for a couple games. But even if they don't, that Kyrie and KD, that duo right there, man, it's gonna put up some all-time great numbers in the playoffs. I'm glad they're healthy.
That's good. I was also going to say too, I saw you shaking your head, Patrick, when I said you see the Nets. If Giannis and the Bucks are swept, one is Budenholzer out of a job, and what does it say for Giannis Antetokounmpo, and does it impact his legacy?
Yeah, I guess. I wouldn't even. I don't personally look at Giannis like this legacy or something. I don't think he deserved the last 2 MVPs. It's not 2001 where you average 25 points or 30 points in the paint and you get an MVP. Like, he can't shoot the ball. He done been put out of the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can't shoot. This is a shooter's league. And then I hear all these guys on all the shows, Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp, all these guys on the jump, all these guys. Well, it's a shooter's league and he can't shoot. Like, bro, it's been a shooter's league. This has been for years. This has been for so long. It's been a shooters league, and we get all this hype about.
Make the NBA.
You know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous to me personally.
I get it.
I get it. And then like, I really don't think that even if the 76ers were healthy, like, I was big on them the last couple of weeks before the playoffs started. But my main key thing that I was saying, if you guys can remember, is Tobias Harris going to finally step up? Are these guys going to finally step up and play better than what they have? And I don't think they will when it comes down to a true playoff game. When the heat is on, I think some of those guys scary away.
Wow.
I don't think that you're going to get Seth Curry and that boy that popped off last night, I don't think you're going to get Milton. I don't think you're going to get that 3 more times.
Right.
And
For what you need.
you're going to get. I do think that 3 more times Trae Young and those shooters that he's got with him, I think they're going to get off personally. So
John, before we go, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
But I do personally think that nobody in the East, if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are still this healthy and these other guys are stepping up like they will, I can't see anybody messing with it. I can't see anybody messing with it at all.
They are who we thought they were. Before we go to another commercial break, John, what's your take? Do you see the Brooklyn Nets not only making it out of the East, but being the next world champions?
Well, they got 2 superstars, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. I mean, I can tell that Kevin Durant has shot thousands and thousands. He's a spot shooter. He gets in a gym and he starts at point A, and his trainer says you're going to get to point B and you're going to stop and you're going to shoot. And they got all kinds of things that they use to, assimilate defense with them, and he makes that shot and he gets it up so high. He's tough, and I mean I got into it yesterday with Patrick. You can't stop him. You're not going to stop him.
The release is at the highest. He has the highest release point in the NBA.
You're not going to stop him, but make him work, because make him do something, work a little bit. Maybe you can make him take 7 more shots to get 40 or get 38 or whatever. Maybe you can make him work hard and take him off that spot by a foot or a foot and a half, but you're not going to stop him. And Kyrie is a magician with the basketball. Yeah. My goodness, this young man. I love watching him play. He is really a baller,
man.
But I want to see Philly and the Nets. I want to see them. I want to see them play. And I have not discounted Philadelphia yet. They have a good coach and they're a determined bunch. And, I agree with Patrick. You need to, they don't have the offensive weapons. Nobody has like the Nets. Nobody has that. And they're going to be tough to beat, Lindsay.
Yeah.
By the way, Orlando picked them when we had the discussion before the playoffs even started. That was Orlando.
That was.
Orlando put it out there, no doubt. Well, speaking of that, he's going to help us take it away. We're going to come back and talk a little football and a little baseball. That's right, baseball on the SPS Edge podcast. So with that, I want to again thank our sponsors, the Ratio Williams Foundation, Dick's Sporting Good, Gilead Science, my guys on the Streets of Talking Podcast Network, that is Don Houston, Clarence Babor. We know that Aaron Mays is listening and tuning in, but also Team Michigan and basketball. Take it away. Let's see what's happening next with them.
Who it is, baby! And I'm here to tell you about the new youth basketball tournament in Michigan. Team Michigan Basketball has done the work. It's prime time. They are PTPers, baby. Get ready for a scary good basketball tournament Halloween weekend at the venue of all venues, Baby Grand Traverse Resort. I'm talking about a diaper dandy, baby. I mean awesome with a capital A. A basketball tournament that is designed with the entire family in mind. Escape to a 900-acre northern Michigan resort just outside of Traverse City. Enjoy 54 holes of championship golf, spa, indoor-outdoor tennis, indoor water playground, fitness center, private beach club, 4 restaurants, shopping, and now basketball. I can't wait, baby! It's the stay to play that will make your day! Halloween weekend 2021. Check it out at www.boosketball.com. Register your team soon. This one is going to fill up quickly. A basketball tournament at a resort. That's a slam, bam, jam, baby!
Yeah, it's going to be a good time indeed. Looking forward to being up there. SPS will be in the building. Let's talk about a little switch right now. We're going to talk about a little bit of football. Deshaun Watson's name is rumbling again. You wonder how much that cloud is hanging over him is going to impact. But there's more and more talk about the idea of him being dealt to the Broncos. Terry, I'll start with you. What do you think about the possibility of that, and what do you see coming from that?
I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's a smart move for Denver right now. I mean, I would say that because not because of his talent by any means. I mean, I think it's because of the legal business that's going on. I mean, to get Deshaun and how Houston's being with this trade request, they're gonna ask for a lot. So whether Deshaun, is able to play this season or not, we don't. We know right now. I mean, right now he's good, but I mean, with all this stuff that's gonna come up, the trial and all that, you don't know what's gonna happen in that situation. It's a very, it's the one thing you don't want to worry about on your team. You don't want any kind of mess, no drama, anything like that. So to be able to give everything just to get something that you're not even really sure how it's gonna work out is not one of those investments that you sit really well with. So I think the Broncos, they're in a spot right now where that quarterback issue is a thing. They got Teddy Bridgewater. He may be a right now solution. Kind of stick some office tape on there and not Gorilla Glue or anything like that. Kind of fix it a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be a long-term thing. But I think it's something that further on, in the next draft class, maybe look for a quarterback, maybe Spencer Rattler, depending on how well they do this season. I don't know, but I don't think that. I think it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing. Hopefully, Deshaun's clear to play if they were to deal for him and it works out. I mean, that would be a dream come true for them, but I don't think it's the right move to make that investment right now.
Not the right move. Not the right move. I appreciate that, Terry. Patrick, when you hear about the idea of Deshaun Watson going to the Denver Broncos, if one, do you think it could end up happening, and what do you think about the move in general?
Hope it happens. I think it'd be great. I think that all this nonsense with this legal stuff, I think it'll all be handled. It'll all be stepped to the side, and I think football come into play. I think that with Von Miller being healthy and them getting Surtain from Alabama, I think that they have a possible top 10 defense again. And I want to say maybe 2 years. If he does get there, I say give him like 2 years to maybe tweak some things and get some more offensive power, because I think they'll have a top 10 defense in 2 years too. And I think they'll be shooting for a Super Bowl if it goes that way. That's just my personal opinion.
If this happens, if he is traded there, between now and the start of the season, do you foresee people standing outside the gates of the practice facility, i.e. Michael Vick type with signs up and things like that, and what kind of impact do you think that's going to have?
Sure, I think I think you're going to have to, whoever gets him will have to deal with that for a while, but it will go away.
It will go away.
And if it doesn't, there's some privilege going around. What's going on, because Big Ben, and there's been a lot of guys in that league that have done some things, man. So if they keep giving this kid a problem and he handles it in court, or if he settles, whatever, if everything gets handled in court, it should just be football talk from here on out.
I hear that. John, I often refer to you as an insider. I'm going to go out on my conspiracy theory limb again. Could have been the idea that for so long Deshaun was adamant about wanting to be traded, and then we see the allegations come up that I'll go as far as to say the Texans kind of sullied his character to make him a less desirable person to pick, just so if he does leave, though it may be harder for them to offload him, but still to say this is something we're going to put on you based on you giving us all these challenges going forward. I mean, is that too much of a stretch to think that, or is just to be a coincidence that these allegations came up when they did?
Well, the timing's kind of funny, isn't it? I mean, said, while he's been playing there for 5 years or whatever,
and he was known as being a model citizen.
Yeah.
He was a great guy, but and all of a sudden these allegations come up when he says, "I want out."
Well, that's what I say. The timing's everything, but I agree with Patrick. I think that there's there's probably work being done right now, and it's going to hurt his pocketbook. But I don't think that him or his money managers or whatever want this thing to go to a courtroom. And isn't this the way it usually happens with superstars, no matter what field they're in? Non-disclosures settle out of court.
Right.
I mean, it happens with businessmen. It happens with Hollywood. It happens with professional athletes. When a person looks to sue some person, the lawyer says, well, let's go after the deepest pockets. Who's got the deepest pockets? The insurance company. Well, just look at it that way, But I think he'll weather the storm, and he's a top flight quarterback. I mean, he's a great talent. That's still young, got life, and hopefully he also says, well, I might change you. Who's massaging me?
Yeah, you're right about that. Better get you an old. I don't even want to say who we need to get, but that got to be it. Right. Well, we're going to switch to talk about a topic that I don't think has gotten any airplay at all here at the SPS Edge. It's not that it shouldn't. It's not that I don't have any ties. I have to pull out a picture of my days with West 7, John, playing for West 7 baseball back in their little league. I was on the Brown team. Nobody wanted them doo-doo brown jerseys, as we called them, but it helped build character. On top of the fact that we were the worst team in the league, man, like the Bad News Bears. However, I scouted for the All-Star game, the All-Star team, and it was between me and another guy, and it was a pop-up fly to the outfield, which is where they would have had me, although I was playing catch on my team. He missed the catch, and everybody said, you should have got Lindsey. You should have got Lindsey. But anyway, with that being said, I think baseball, we have touched on this to a degree, man. Baseball is cool, especially playoff time, especially if you can appreciate the consistency of it. But baseball is in the news for another reason. They talk about a potential, I won't go as far as say a cheatgate scandal, if you will, but talking about this banned substance as it relates to increasing the spin rate on the ball. But I'll defer to you first, John. We talk about this thing that's happening, and people are talking about RPMs increasing and what that does for the ball. Just give us an overview for us novices as it relates to baseball of why this is a potential issue.
Well, first of all, every pitch that's thrown in the minor leagues and in the major leagues is registered with the amount of spin. Okay, and they use RPMs.
Rotations per minute, right?
Yep, revolutions per minute, right.
Revolutions per minute, right.
And this is nothing new, okay? But it's part of what baseball's tried to do to get young people. They see young people on these phones. They see them on the computers, and they wanted to give them what we now call in baseball analytics. It's also, there's a launch angle of your swing, because when a baseball is traveling like this, it goes up in the air. When a baseball travels top end over down, it goes down. So a launch angle for a hitter and the spin rate is what they like to use in analytics. And the more spin you get on the ball, the more RPMs, the more the ball moves. And they're using what they call spider tack now. And it's a substance that strongmen competition use when they carry the rocks and they carry different heavy objects.
So I would imagine that sticks to their hand compared to slipping out of their hand?
Yeah, they want the grip. They got to get the grip, because when you're throwing the baseball, depending on where you want the ball to go, it's the grip you use. You may split 2 fingers. You may split the middle fingers. You may have all 4 fingers on the seam. And there's different ways to make the ball go outside, make the ball come into the hitter, make the ball go down, make the ball go away. Okay? So they use the grip and they need that grip to make that ball do what they need it to do. So when that guy's hiding his ball in his glove, the pitcher, he's putting the grip on that he wants. And, you know, their hands get sweaty. That's why for years there used to be rosin on the mound. Well, I want to say, Lindsey, they've been using substances on baseball for over 100 years. In 1920, they abolished you being able to actually spit on the baseball before you threw it.
Spitball,
because it would slide off your fingers, and then, you know, it was, for a long time, it was Vaseline. They'd hide it on the back of their neck. They'd put it on the liner of their cap. They'd put it in their pants. You know, there's some guys that...
Damn, John, you seem like you had some Vaseline hitting around. You did that too comfortable, man.
Well, let me just say this. When I was Terry's age, the Phillies came in my house and offered me to sign a professional contract. I was a high school baseball player that played in Detroit. Was one of the best places in the country for amateur baseball.
Wow.
I remember when I was a junior in high school, 8 players from Northern High School went and played professional. 8 of them.
8.
One
Wow.
high school team. And I played against Major League Baseball players came out of the Detroit Public Schools.
Wow.
You know,
wow. That's
and
amazing.
I'm talking about African-American kids. You know, people don't even realize it, that there was a player from Detroit Northwestern, Alex Johnson, that won an American League batting title. But I was a baseball player, okay? And I played with some of the best players in the summer leagues in Detroit. Were unbelievable. And I learned a lot about baseball, and I have friends of mine. One of my best friends I talk to every day is a Hall of Fame baseball coach. And a lot of guys I knew and grew up with played. But, you know, they've even used tacks in their belt because some guys like to take the baseball and tear it a little bit so they can dig their fingernail into it. So they've been doctoring the baseball for a long time. And it was Josh Danielson from Minnesota that, 8 minor league players were suspended 10 games for using spider tack. And then a reporter from Sports Illustrated picked it up. And then Cole Garrett from the Yankees went on a podcast for the New York, wasn't the Times. It was another New York paper, New York Daily. And they asked him, did he use spider tack? Because he had this one outing where his spin rate went down 1,000 RPM.
Yeah, 1,000 RPMs.
And he got hit and knocked out of the game very early. And this doesn't happen to him. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. And he said, well, I don't think I can answer that question. So they said,
well, he paused for a long time. He wasn't ready for it. I mean, he was not.
Exactly. You know, and then he said, well, you know, I'm part of the union. I'm a union rep. And he started going off on some other stuff. But, you know, they've been using this stuff on baseballs for a long time. And the hitters now, it's so hard for them. It is so hard for them. I'm a baseball guy. I watch baseball, and the stuff that the ball does now coming out of their hand, I don't know how these guys are hitting it at all. You know what happens is every once in a while, the ball, you don't get the grip you want or you don't get the spin you want, and it's called a hanger. And that's why these guys, they just wait for these pitchers to make mistakes now where they throw a ball up there and it doesn't spin and it stays right in the middle of the plate, and then they hit the hell out of that ball. But foreign substances have been on baseball since they started playing.
Say nothing new. You know, Patrick, when you hear your dad go in great detail about that, and then you kind of growing up in the household knowing that history, and then you hear about this topic we're discussing today, tell me this, what does that do for you, man? Does that increase your interest in baseball, or just kind of just go by you like it's just another sports topic that'll kind of go away?
Not really sure about that. I'm always gonna be more interested in baseball because that's a part of my family, and my granddad and him watch every Tiger game that comes on, and I get into it because I think it's a great game, and the playoffs are just amazing.
They are.
But it doesn't turn me away because like I got this guy next to me, and I know like, if this they've been doing it for 100 years, it's very common. And I was watching the Pat McAfee show when Garrett Cole was on, and AJ Hawk, the legendary Green Bay Packers linebacker and Ohio State linebacker, your boy over there, Ohio State. AJ Hawk said it was as common as wiping your cleats off.
Wow.
So, I think it's like my dad said, they've been doing it for a really long time. So my interest is still there.
That's good. That's good. Terry, you being the most youthful one on this panel right now, I mean, I know you're a sports aficionado. What did you think about when you heard about this controversy, and then when you have someone like John giving you such a historical reference, how does that impact your thinking about this topic?
Yeah, so I did a bit of, just listening about the situation. I've been getting into baseball a lot this year. I actually picked up a favorite team. I'm a White Sox fan now, so
okay,
good team.
White Sox.
So I've been watching a lot. I've been hearing about it a lot.
Just quick question: what drew you to the White Sox?
I like Tim Anderson. He's my favorite player. Okay. He doesn't really hit a lot of home runs.
Average in the last 3 years, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, he just gets on base. That's why he's a guy that gets on base, makes things happen. He runs. He always gets the extra base. A guy may hit a single and he's on first, he's gonna get to third. So he's fun to watch. But this whole spider tag thing. So I did some some research on it, and part of the reason why pitchers felt the need to do this, and everyone's doing it pretty much now, is that they were talking about how walks and hit by pitches have been, were such a high over the past couple of years. And so pitchers were trying to reclaim command on the ball by using it, and you see a lot more of it. So Pine Tar was back then, now it's spider tack and things like that to build command on it. And so everyone's been talking about it. Everyone does it. I wouldn't really say that it's such a surprise. I mean, we saw the steroid era. I mean, I feel like the Major League Baseball, they know what's going on. I feel like, they knew they were juicing. They knew, the ratings were high. So no one's really going to be like, hey, test those guys. There's no way he's hitting 70 home runs. 2 guys are hitting 70 home runs in a season. No one's like, oh, man, we need a surprise drug test. We're like, the ratings are good. Everyone's loving baseball again. So, I mean, but I've heard a lot of solutions for pitchers that want to make the game interesting. People like seeing strikeouts and stuff like that, using it. I've heard, that they actually have kind of deflated the balls this year to where they're not as juiced because people were complaining about how the balls were so were harder because they had more air in them, and they were losing control because it was heavier. And so as they're throwing it at such a high velocity, they're losing it. It's flying everywhere. And so they're like, oh, we're using it because of that. So they deflate them, and then you're also deflating the ball, and you're using you're using spider tack. It's impossible to hit that now. Like a deflated ball with spider tack is going to be a ground out. That's why you see so many no hitters this year. People are using these things to improve their performance. I mean, it's not a surprise. Everyone's doing this. So I would say, if we're going to allow it, which I think the Major League Baseball is going to make a move now and make a harsh punishment because it's happening so often now, and we're seeing the reactions of players that stopped using it for a little while. I mean, you see players doing this before every pitch, or in their in their belt getting some of the spider tack. So we see it, but I would say, if you're going to allow these players to do that, rejuice the balls. I mean, give the hitter a chance to hit it. I mean, you're already deflating the ball, and then they're using something to make the spin even more deadly. I think they should juice the ball up if you're going to allow that. But I don't think it's something that's, like I said, such a surprise. I mean, everyone has used, the Astros stealing signs with trash cans. Everyone's trying to find some kind of advantage in baseball. I mean, it's one of those sports where it's the American game. it's so fun to watch, and everyone's trying to get the upper hand. So I think
Well, you know the line, Terry. They say if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
right. Exactly. I mean, you see guys. I never forget. I forgot the pitcher's name from the Yankees. He was getting pine tar off the side of his arm, like it was on his neck, and they were like, "Yo, look at his neck." You know what I mean? And I actually watched that game. I'm like, "What is that on his neck? Like, what is that, a scar?" And it's pine tar.
Like, yeah.
I mean, they use any way to get the upper hand in sports, but I think baseball, you see it so often because it's the degree of difficulty. So I think they're going to have a harsh punishment on it, and you're going to start seeing some of these no hitters go away because it's outrageous how many no hitters we're seeing, and so many close to no hitters.
John, I want to go back to you when you hear the young Jedi Terry just share his passion for baseball and get those points to me. Is there anything Terry said that totally stands out to you? You want to comment on? I love to get the perspective from a generational standpoint.
I think Terry said some very solid points. They have taken something out of the ball. They about the last 5 or 6 years, they've tightened the strings and used a different
because it's all yarn, right? Isn't it all yarn, or is there with a core?
There's a core. There's a core. And they've changed the core substance, and they're not wrapping it as tight. And I believe that they say it's taken between 10 and 15 feet off the distance of a ball.
That's huge. That's inside the park or home run.
Yeah, well, every ball hit now has a miles per hour coming off the bat.
Yeah.
Whether it's a fair ball or a foul ball. These are all stuff that they want to get the nerd to watch. And analytics, I mean, it's actually a guy from Detroit that actually invented what they're using right now.
Really?
Don James, yeah. He's from Detroit.
Now, wait a minute. This is the same Don James they talked about in Moneyball?
In where?
In the book Moneyball, or the theory of money.
That's what Billy Bean, that they used his metrics, right?
So Don James is from Detroit?
Yes, he is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. He I've met him several times and talked baseball with him. He's a real interesting guy, and they have all these different stats that they can prove. And I agree with Terry. I don't think they're ever going to stop stealing signs. I don't think they're ever going to stop putting the substance on the ball. Hey, there's some stuff you can do to your bat now too.
Yeah, okay? Right.
You can hollow your bat out.
You can cork it. Is that cork it? Yeah.
And what they do now, like, for example, something I found fascinating. Barry Bonds made his own baseball bats. Did you know that? He didn't
I heard about that.
Louisville Slugger didn't. He found the hardest wood in the world and found a guy, and he made his bats. So, the harder wood you can make now and the lighter your bat can be, the more velocity you can create with your swing.
Right.
So, I don't think they're ever gonna. I think baseball loves that this conversation is happening because they feel a loss of fan base and everything else. Although, trust me, they're all making a lot of money.
I bet.
They're making a lot of money. The local TV contracts, you get to keep that money. That's why the Yankees and the Dodgers are so successful, is because of their local TV contracts.
Right.
But I don't think they'll stop it. But Terry's right on. He did his homework.
Yeah, he definitely has.
And he picked one hell of a baseball player to watch. I love watching Tim Anderson play.
And we have to keep an eye on them. So with that, guys, we're going to get ready to wrap up for the show. And we will end with some commercial shout-outs to Dick Sporting Good, Gilead Science, as well as the Horatio Williams Foundation. And we'll get a commercial from Team Michigan before we hear from Patrick. Patrick, you have one more thing to add for us?
Yeah, before we go, I wanted to say, touch on something that we talked about last week. We were talking about, the great legends of college basketball coaches retiring and getting ready to go. You had mentioned something about Izzo, and my dad, we've been talking about it all week, and he looked it up, and he is 16 Big Ten wins away from Coach Bobby Knight. So,
and that's probably why he made the comment in the paper today that he's in no rush to follow his contemporaries and leave. He needs to get through the season. He's watching. So we got to keep out. So this season's going to be big on him.
Absolutely.
So with that, Orlando, if you can, tell us a little bit more about Team Michigan. Is there any more things we can see about this basketball? And we're going to get ready to get out of here for the day.
We're so happy that our son is playing AAU basketball.
Well, let's be honest. As much as we enjoy traveling with our son from tournament to tournament, who really likes sitting in a hot gym from sunup to sundown in a strange city with absolutely nothing to do?
This is just how it is. Hot gyms, tiny hotel rooms, horrible food, and nothing to do.
Well, my friend Tracy's son's team found a new series of basketball tournaments designed with the entire family in mind.
Where?
Team Michigan Basketball is holding a series of basketball tournaments in Grand Traverse Resort and Spa, just outside of Traverse City, Michigan.
Well, what does this basketball tournament offer that the others don't?
A full spa, 3 golf courses, indoor swimming, playground, multiple restaurants and bars, casino gambling, great basketball shopping, and so much more.
Wow! Where can we find more information?
Their first tournament is this Halloween weekend. Tracy says visit boosketball.com for information about the first tournament. Where are you going?
I'm going to call the coach. We have to make sure he signs the team up for all of their tournaments.
Oh, I want to thank John and Patrick Rutherford for supporting us. I want to thank Terry McCord Jr. and I want to thank Orlando Watkins. And we're going to be out of here with the right amount of time. And again, finally to the Streets of Talking Podcast Network. Thank you guys for all you do, and we'll see you guys next week. We're out.